Thank you for bearing with me, and welcome back to Random YouTube Movie Time. That thing I like to do that I haven't done in a while that I need to start doing more, where I pick a random free movie on YouTube, I don't read the description, and then I tell you all about it. Today is the 1999 film Anywhere But Here, starring Natalie Portman, you know, Queen Amidala, and Susan Sarandon, i.e. Janet Weiss. But also Bonnie Bedelia's in there somewhat, and apparently really young Elizabeth Moss. Where's Elizabeth Moss in this? I don't remember. I forgot to look for her. But according to the comments in the film, and on Rotten Tomatoes, this is a beloved 90s film. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think I fuck with it. But let me tell you what it's about. I would say imagine the Gilmore Girls, but without any money. Or the charm. But anyways, so Susan Sarandon decides to leave her hometown with her 14-year-old daughter and move from Wisconsin to Los Angeles with no money, no lined up job, and no lined up housing. But we already know something is amiss because she lied to all her family members and told them that she had a job lined up in the Beverly Hills School District. She also keeps talking about her daughter becoming a child star. And they have a hell of a strained relationship, and you know this because at the beginning, Natalie Portman calls her out for only marrying her second husband so that she could divorce him and get half his money. But we know it goes even further than that because we know she lied in her divorce decree about him being gay. And then she told her daughter that he had an affair when apparently he didn't have an affair, but she had an affair. And then she left her kid on the side of the road for a while because she took up for the ex-husband. So it's never explained explicitly that she's going through any kind of mental health crisis, but it's all through the movie. Like, they get all the way to Los Angeles, they pull into the Beverly Hills Hotel, which I guess is, like, extraordinarily expensive. Again, they don't really have any money. But she wants to tour a room, and then the lady's like, it's $1,200 a night, and she's like, do you have any villas? And when the lady says no, they're like, okay. And then they go to the travel lodge. And then the next day, they're able to get an apartment through a real estate agent they met at a diner, who I think was Bonnie Bedelia, but I didn't look at her face long enough for it to register. But now they're living in this teeny little apartment with no furniture, and apparently she forgets to pay the bills a lot. And then Natalie Portman and Susan Sarandon are both invited to one of Natalie Portman's classmates for a party at their house on Christmas Day. And everybody's excited to go. She told Natalie Portman, go get ready and everything. And then once Natalie Portman is all ready to go, Susan Sarandon decides to vacuum and clean the house. And she's like, what are you doing? And Susan's all like, well, I want this to be a perfect Christmas and I want us to have a clean house, and tells her just to go by herself. And poor Natalie Portman is all confused, but she's like, okay then. But as she's leaving, Susan Sarandon's like, well, I'll tell you about your father if you stay. Because her dad left when she was 4 and hasn't had any contact since. That'll come up again. So Natalie Portman decides to stay. But instead of talking about her dad, Susan takes her to get ice cream. Except the ice cream shop is closed. And then a cop comes by to tell her she's double parked and she needs to move her car. And Natalie Portman tries to walk away and the cop's like, you can't just leave her. Not yet. And Natalie's like, I can't fucking do this anymore. I gotta get away from her. And the cop's like, I get it, but make sure you're ready to, like, just never come back. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row. And that's pretty much this whole movie. It's her mother making these very drastic, very off-the-wall decisions, and then Natalie Portman having to deal with it. Like, okay, Susan gets a job in the school district, but when all the teachers started striking, she quit her job because she didn't want to strike. She's like, they don't pay me enough to stand there and picket. Then Natalie Portman was like, what are we going to do for money? And she throws the newspaper at her. She's like, you're going to have to get a part-time job and go to one of these auditions. And then, Susan Sarandon meets a dentist on the beach who was with his wife, but she wrote her phone number on a football. And then the dentist and the wife split, so he called her, and they went on a date. But kind of sort of secretly, she was just trying to get braces for Natalie Portman. But also, she got wienered. And then when she comes home at 5 a.m. the next day, she wakes her kid up and drags her out of bed so that they can go watch the sunrise at the beach. And she can tell her all about how he went down on her. That's not explicitly stated. And Natalie Portman has no idea what the hell she's talking about. But if you know, you know. But anyways, yeah, it's a continuation of a lot of that. But we haven't even gotten to Natalie Portman's side here. And this is going to lead me on just a little bit of a tangent. So Natalie Portman's character has a male cousin who she is just, like, attached to. Now, you can tell they grew up together, they did everything together, that is her best friend. Cool! And then he comes out to California to visit. And then the conversation goes to how big he thinks her boobs have gotten. And who is he wienering these days? What? And then there's a whole question regarding sexuality. Bear with me here. They go to leave at the very beginning of the movie, and I thought she was with two of her cousins, which one of them was the guy cousin. They're going to leave at the beginning of the movie, and she's with two people, one of them being the cousin, and then the other one is some girl who I thought was another cousin, but I guess it's either her best friend or her girlfriend, because they kiss on the lips. And you know, that's whatever that could mean, anything. But then the girl asked her, "You destroyed those photos, right? The ones of me in my underwear." Hi, character 14. And then later on, she actually does have sex. So she's like 17 by this point. She has sex with like a male classmate. But this leads me down to two different thoughts. Number one, I think she should have just been gay. Like, how often do we get a gay main character in a mainline film? Almost never up until recently. Which leads me to my next thought. For it to have been, 20, 25 years ago, how is it we had more explicitly gay characters then in TV and movies than we do now? How did we end up going backwards? You had Will and Grace, and despite how you feel about Ellen, it was still a big deal that she was out in her own show at the time. Or like, But I'm a Cheerleader came out around that time. You see where I'm going with this? It's just weird we took a step backwards. Anyway. Also, Natalie Portman's character is supposed to be half Egyptian. So this apparently seems to be a comfort movie for a lot of people. It just ain't for me. It's too much. It's too much everything. So 4 out of 10. Okay, bye. I'm not a girl, not yet a woman.